Tate hasn't been included in England's team for Saturday's international against Australia. He's back in training after recovering from a hamstring injury, but his teammate Andrew Sheridan does start.
BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
Whatever you do, don't look up and be seduced by a glimpse of brightness, because it will not last. As the day goes on, from the north we'll see a band of rain moving down. We're all going to see that as you head into the afternoon. And not just that, the winds are strong, gusting to 60 or 65 miles an hour at times. That's gale force or even severe gale force. Top temperature 9 Celsius.
I've never been seduced by sunshine. I can't remember the last time I was seduced in sunshine.
Allan Beswick with you on the phone.
Steady now.
0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Howdy. You all right? Good-o. I hesitate to mention this for fear of a tirade or two. But then I think I likes a tirade or two. Apparently... Now, look, I don't know how anyone could possibly know this. He's been a bit busy this last week or so. But apparently Barack Obama is considering having the congestion charge in America. And he's looking at the model in Manchester. This is according to the Manchester Evening News, and therefore it must be true. Yep. Of course it must. It says, Obama eyes our pay-to-drive plan, congestion charge scheme, seen as a shining example by the US. This is before they've even got it, mind. Barack Obama's transport advisors are studying Greater Manchester's congestion charge plans to see if they could work in the US. Whilst that might or might not be a good idea, I'm not getting carried away with it. The truth is that they offered a debate and a referendum on the congestion charge for New York. The vote took place, I think, in February this year. And New York voted against. The mayor of New York was livid, absolutely livid. Yeah, him, the strange-looking one. He's an odd fellow at the best of times, but I mean, he's done well. He's done well to become mayor of New York, hasn't he? But there you are. Anyway, he looks a bit odd. But he was livid, absolutely furious. He thought it was a cracking idea. But the people who live outside the sort of Manhattan Island of New York said, no, we're not paying to come in here. You can stuff it. We're not paying. Now, we've got around that round here by not giving them a choice. Yeah. But there you are. So that's the plan. Jacob Yaula, who previously worked on congestion charging in London, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, Italy and the US, said the move proved the eyes of the world are on Manchester. In the US, Greater Manchester has been held up as a shining example of dynamic new thinking. So there you are. That's what we're doing round here. We're doing dynamic new thinking. Whether the new thinking is the new thinking in terms of the congestion charge itself, whether it's the prior funding of developments before the congestion charge comes in and then the rest of it being paid for by a big loan, or whether it's the fact that they're giving us the right to say, then, well, I don't know. But there you are. But it's not far away now, is it? When's the vote? Early December, isn't it, the postal vote? We'll be getting the blurb by the end of this month.
Post-watershed wit and wisdom with Sam Walker.
Officers were sat around in the police station in Adelaide, heard the sound of breaking glass and found the criminal on the floor in one of the cells.
I would have liked it if one of them had said, we're not trained for this. Let's call someone. We are someone. Oh, no.
Sam Walker.
Posh and Becks have bought each other magic necklaces.
They were hand-carved by a master carver in Japan who spends most days in meditation before working. What a load of rubbish!
Sam Walker.
Gilroy Silk is going to be in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. He'll have to keep heckling himself. Go back to my own country.
His job should be for koalas. I'm taking a koala's job.
Sam Walker.
Oh, for want of a cymbal and a drum kit. It's never here when I need it.
Tonight from 10 at BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. If you want to join us, it's the usual number, 01612282255. Email address radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk and the text number 07786 206 951. Keep it simple, say I. It's a misquote. It's not Obama, it's the Barmy. They're considering a congestion charge in Manchester, says Kevin. That's pretty good, isn't it? It's not Obama, it's the Barmy. We like that. Thank you very much indeed. Can I just get this stuff out of the way? I've been meaning to do this for days, but we just sort of get sidetracked. And before I get sidetracked, I'll do this. Do you remember that chap that come on telling us that he runs his vehicle on chip fat, basically? Yeah, on oil he gets from the chippies, which he then strains and filters and does all the rest of it. I'm wondering what day it was, but I don't suppose it matters really, does it? But I'm here, I might as well look now. Can't remember what it was. It was a bloke from Atherton. He like I said, yeah. Can't remember. Anyway, there you are. But he said he ran it on chip fat, basically. Well, and he said he saved a fortune. And somebody sent me this the next day. Albert sent me this, and he said, police in West Wales have taken action against 5 drivers in one day for using vehicles run on cooking oil. It's all part of a clampdown on the illegal practice. The motorists were stopped under new legislation which makes it an offence to use the oil as an alternative fuel without paying a fuel tax levy. It's been reported that a growing number of motorists are using the ordinary frying pan oil in their diesel engines to cut costs, but such drivers face having their vehicles impounded if they don't pay a fine of £500, and persistent offenders could end up in jail for as much as 7 years. Now, here's the problem with it. The legal problem is that by using 32 pence a litre cooking oil, instead of costing around 73 pence a litre, they're not paying fuel tax, but they're committing an offence because all cars on public roads must pay fuel tax, but cooking oil is not taxed. So there you are. So the gist of it is that, needless to say, they've dubbed the police officers the frying squad, which I think is very funny. But there you are. So that chap, whoever you are, I do hope that you're phoning up Her Majesty and saying, Your Majesty, would you like, hang on, I'll work this out, 41 pence a litre for my chip fat, what I'm running the car on? Well, that's the problem. So I've told you now, I'm in the clear. I've done my duty to God and the Queen and all the rest of it. So that's sorted out. That was my Wolf Cub promise, and I've kept it up. So that's that. Now, there's another one. This is Corrections Day. Yeah. No, I can't do them all. We'd need Corrections Week, wouldn't we? But I'll do this. You appear to be confusing the situations of Lee Genesis FC and Lee Centurions RLFC. Stick with me. It doesn't get interesting, but it'll be over. Lee Genesis is the Unibond League of the Lee Genesis of the Unibond League do not attract crowds. You see, I've made it worse, haven't I? Right, I'll start again. Lee Genesis of the Unibond League do only attract crowds of around 150 on a good day, and the Lee Sports Village Stadium Management Company are insisting that the football club pay for around 50 stewards to police their matches, giving roughly 1 steward per fan. Lee Centurions, that's the rugby club, attracts a crowd of 2,000 to 3,000 and are in a better position, but again, there are still concerns over the amount of rent being charged for the use of the stadium. Whilst I appreciate that the stadium has to be paid for somehow, if the local authority priced the teams of Lee Genesis and Lee Centurions out of the stadium, then the LSV, as presumed, could simply sit there as a pretty white elephant, and this will be of benefit to no one. P.S. The rugby ground that was at the side of Hilton Park was Lee East and not Miners, as they too have a new clubhouse facility adjacent to the LSV, and again they're undergoing problems with regard to the agreed contract payments between them and so blah, blah, blah. Right, OK, I think I've done that. Steve in Shawston. Hiya, Steve.
Hello. Hiya, Alan.
How are you doing?
Not bad, very bad, actually. Yourself?
Good, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah. What can we do you for?
Yeah, what it is, Manchester City Council, right, it's just over like my council tax bill, right. Now, frankly, I'm disappointed really with them because we have, as you probably will understand, that you do like say we have 12 monthly instalments to pay, I think, or something, or that might even be 10 monthly instalments.
I think it's 10, yes.
It's 10, yeah. Well, round about in April time, I didn't pay it. I just totally forgot about it. So that was one strike. But a few days later, I paid it. I realised, and then paid that. Then I think it was the 9th month of this year, and forgot again. So 2 strikes and I'm out. That seems to be the council's policy. So
when you say 2 strikes you're out, what they're saying to you is we refuse to accept monthly payments in future.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, thanks for correcting me there. Yeah,
it's okay.
That's
we
exactly
want
right.
we want the money up front.
The money in full now. So I thought, oh great. So I tried to phone them anyway. Can you just bear with me a sec, Alan? Because I'm a single parent dad as well.
Okay.
My daughter, I just need to. Can you just be quiet, please? Because I'm on the phone. Daddy's on the phone. Okay.
Fantastic.
I'll go and get you rice pudding in a minute.
Oh, great. Can I come round? Well, I'll come round if we're having rice pudding. Oh, sorry, go on. Have you got nutmeg on it?
Right.
Right.
Sort this one out. There you go. Right. Go and sit down, please. There you go. Well done. Right.
Fabulous. The problem is that when they allow you, because they don't have to allow you, when they allow you to pay by direct debit usually, or monthly payments, then if it's direct debit, frankly, you can't forget. So you didn't forget, did you? You can't forget direct debit because they do the remembering.
I wasn't paying by direct debit.
Right.
I was just paying, I'd sort of like have a checklist of the dates every month, and then I'd just go and pay it over the phone on me.
Then why don't you suggest to them that if they'll let you stay on the monthly thing, you'll do it via
Well, it's too late for that now, and I say that because I've actually paid it in full off a credit card, which isn't the ideal route that I wanted to take. What I did do, I actually phoned them up, and I said, it was the automated thing again, and it said, oh, you're in a queue and you're like 15th or 17th or something. To be quite honest, I've not got time for all that because, like I say, I'm single parent dad, but I work as well, and I'm so busy at running back into trying to put my daughter into nursery and
okay. So you were busy. I can appreciate you've got a busy life.
And then going to work as well. So.
Yeah, quite.
So anyway, what I did, this was like, they sent me this letter saying, that's it now. We've blah blah. So I then thought, oh God, reached the credit card, and they wanted a payment like November the 3rd, I think it was, Okay. November the 3rd, so I thought, oh, right, okay.
So you've paid it by credit card?
I paid it by credit card,
at least the bill is paid.
7th, which is like a few days late.
Yes.
And settled it in full. Today I receive summons for non-payment of council tax. Today, this morning, and then for summons cost £65 on top of, and I'm like thinking, well, thank you very much, Mr. City Council, because I have paid my council tax in full.
Well, unfortunately, you have, but you paid it late.
Right.
Now,
was that? I would say that's open to argument myself, though.
No, it's not.
Is it not? Because
we can have the argument if you want, but you'll lose it.
I would suggest that, I've paid mine in full, possibly before you paid yours.
No, you haven't actually. Because whilst you have paid it in full, you've paid it late because you were due to pay it on the 1st of April. And you didn't. Now, they did a deal with you. They said, on the 1st of April, if you want, as a courtesy, as a friendship, as a gesture to help you, we'll start taking it monthly. We'll let you pay it monthly. But should you ever default, the full sum, the full balance becomes payable. That's the deal. Now, you admitted you've defaulted twice.
Yeah.
You also admitted, which is a bit of a beggar, you also admitted that when they said, right, you've got to pay the balance on the 3rd, you paid it on the 7th.
Yes.
So you were late again.
Yes, indeed.
Now, it's very, very hard to argue I was not late if you start by explaining you were 4 days late. And that's before the money's cleared.
Yeah.
They've got to wait another week.
Yeah.
Possibly not, but it depends on their system. But they've got to wait some more time, at least another day.
Right.
Now, the problem is they've issued the summons in the interim. You could ask them, because actually issuing a summons when you're the council costs virtually nothing.
Right.
Because they use their own lawyers to issue those summonses.
Right.
So you could ask them, well, you must ask them to write off the cost, but I don't think they will, because in principle they're in the right.
Okay.
It stinks, but
I think it's just very harsh.
Well, yes, but there's a principle involved, and I'll tell you what the principle is from those who collect debts.
Yeah.
If you're strict at the very outset of a person beginning their arrears, you stop the arrears. If you're not strict, you don't. And they end up getting to huge levels, and in the case of council tax, people can end up going to prison. So there is this principle, come down hard in the very early days. Let's face it, you'll never be late again, will you?
I think it's very harsh, though, Alan. I mean, you know, I have, like, paid my council tax now, and I do accept that I've, like, made this mistake, but I'm sort of, like, being punished for it now.
3 times, if you like.
Well, 3 times, and if you like, yeah.
So
I cannot argue there.
That's the difficulty. What you need to do, first of all, you have got to respond to the summons. Don't just... Oh, God, yes.
Right.
You've got to respond to the summons. Right back to the court that has issued it. It won't be a summons. It'll be... Well, it depends what kind of summons it is. Is it the criminal court? Is it the magistrates?
It's just... summons for non-payment of council tax, Manchester Magistrates Court.
Magistrates, then you have got to go.
Oh, have I?
That, I'm afraid, is a criminal offence you've been charged with.
You are joking?
No, I am not. You've been charged with the criminal offence of failing to pay your council tax, which carries a possible prison sentence.
Right.
Now, you're not going to jail for this, but you have got to respond to that, because if you don't, the court bailiffs will come round and get you. A summons will be issued for your arrest. So you need to deal with it. Now, talk to the magistrate's clerk and ask what course you can take. Talk to the city council, because they might be able to withdraw it, but don't ignore it. If you ignore it, you could end up in jail. If you deal with it late, it's a long way down the line, but the journey you're on ends in jail.
No way.
Don't miss it. All right.
Wow. Thank you anyway, Alan.
Pleasure. But don't be afraid. You're not going to jail, but you must act now.
Okay.
Have a good day. Sorry, mate.
Thank you.
Just gone 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. The news headlines from Mark Edwardson.
Thousands of people across Greater Manchester have observed 2 minutes silence on the 90th anniversary of the armistice to commemorate the fallen. An 89-year-old veteran of the Second World War has been viciously beaten by robbers at his home in Lancashire. And a teenager from Herefordshire, who's been told she may have just 6 months to live, has won the right to refuse a heart transplant that could have saved her. Manchester's weather: cloudy, wet and very windy, highs of 9 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Let's take a look firstly to traffic on the M6. Northbound, very, very bad at the moment, traffic-wise. Stacking up between 21 Woolston all the way back to the Thelwall Viaduct after several vehicles collided, blocking the 2 dedicated inside lanes of the 4-lane stretch on the northbound side. Also looking fairly busy at the moment, the southbound M6 between junction 16 Stoke-on-Trent and 15 because of a broken-down vehicle blocking the inside lane of the 3. Any further updates you have for me, call in 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
You're never more than 20 minutes away from the latest traffic through the day.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. How are you? That was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? Good heavens. Dave in Swinton. Are you, Dave?
Hello, Alan.
What have you got, mate?
Well, it's just the last bloke that's been on about his council tax.
Yeah.
I've actually got qualifications in council tax law, and I'm an ex-bailiff.
Right.
Right. If he attends, because what he's been done, he's been summoned for a liability hearing.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't have to attend that, but I suggest he does to show that he's paid in full. Then there's no way they won't continue with the action.
No, they won't continue, no.
So that'll save him the 55 quid court costs.
But what about the summons cost? He said there was a summons charge.
Yeah, but if he's paid this on the 7th of November and he got summoned after that date...
The mags will write it off.
He should do, because he shouldn't have been summoned in the first place.
Well...
Well, I know how the system works. It's computerised. And
yeah, I know.
Depends on the date of the summons.
It depends on the date of the summons and the date of the payment, obviously.
Yes.
Because if the payment is after the date of the summons...
Well, then they might go for the costs only.
The summons is then valid, but he's paid.
Yes, well, to be perfectly honest, it's highly unlikely. Well, it's more...
Absolutely.
Well, lateral for them than anything.
Yeah, but the worst case scenario is he does nothing, because as you know and I know, that has the potential of jail at the end of it.
Well, yeah, I know, because I used to go and arrest a few people in those cases.
Yeah, it's a... I mean, what is the... You've done it. What is the process? Because it's not a quick process. As I say, they come down hard in the beginning because that usually gets resolution to their satisfaction, doesn't it?
Yeah, what happens, the bills are usually sent out end of March, payable for the 1st of April.
Yeah.
Or the 15th of April, as some councils used to do. If there's non-payment, then they have to send out a reminder and then a final notice, and then it'll go for liability order. So you're talking, usually the first court cases after the April is usually in June. So it takes 3 months.
Yeah. But the problem here is that he's been paying it monthly, and then has 2 late payments, and they jump all over you then, don't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the time they'll just make further arrangements with you. If you keep in contact with them and say, oops, sorry, I forgot, here's your thing, then most. I mean, the actual law says there should be 10 statutory payments from 1st of April. Well, the council then got the power to extend that to 12.
They did. Some do, some don't.
Yes. It depends on each count, and a lot of it is actually political and how far the councillors will let them take things.
Absolutely. Good on you. Thank you for that, Dave. That will help him immensely. So, Steve, you need to... Attending is the best thing to do. Attend and say. It's not the only advice we're getting. There is other things that you can do. Steve in Chorlton had a similar experience. A similar thing happened to me many years ago. I called the council tax unit. They confirmed my account was no longer in arrears, and I was told that the summons would be cancelled. I got a letter a couple of days later confirming that. I didn't have to attend court, nor were there any charges paid by me. This guy, that's you, Steve, if you're still listening, I hope you are, this guy should call the council tax unit, as it is likely they'll say the same to him now that the account is no longer in arrear. So that's Steve in Chorlton. Thank you very much to that. To another Steve. Steve, ring the council tax unit. Tell them what you've told me without all the preamble. Just say, I've got this summons. I understand why I've got it, but since then I've paid. And they will either say, well, there's nothing we can do now, or they'll say, OK, then we'll cancel the summons and you'll get a letter in the next day or so. Now, if you make that call and the council tax unit says to you, yes, we'll withdraw the summons and we'll send you a letter in the next day or so, if you don't get the letter, attend the court or get back in touch with them. But if on the day of the court hearing, if you still haven't got the letter, go to the court. 0161 228 2255. Just worked in Spain and Portugal, says our anonymous texter. Booze is a lot cheaper there than it is here, but much lower levels of antisocial behaviour. Why? Well, that is usually the case, unless, of course, you're in a Spanish resort or even a Portuguese resort where a lot of British people go. And then, of course, the low booze prices does cause fighting in the streets. It's something about the British psyche. I hesitate to say it, but possibly even the young person of Britain's psyche. They get ratted and want to fight. I don't know why. Maybe today is the day we consider it. Interesting that it's a different thing, but we obviously have some kind of violence within us. Young men, if you will. We obviously do. Now, there's no avenue for it now. There isn't a war that we're likely to volunteer for. Today is Armistice Day, where an awful lot of young men who decided that it would be a lark. That's what they decided, many of them. It would be a lark. Come on, Jimmy, we'll have a laugh. Come on, let's go over to France and fight. It'll be a lark. Let's go and kill ourselves some Huns. It'll be a lark. There's something in the psyche. I'm not saying it's something evil, but there's something in the psyche. Pete in Eccles, you can use up to 2,500 litres of cooking oil per year at zero tax rate, as per HM Customs, says P. Pete in Eccles. Edna in Newton Heath. Hiya, Edna.
Hi, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Do you go into the Arndale Centre in Manchester?
Not very often, but I've been in twice in the last 3 weeks. Go on.
Have you seen the Christmas decorations?
No.
Pathetic.
Why?
Absolutely pathetic.
And what's wrong with them?
No tree.
Apart from the fact that they're up a month early.
No tree.
No tree?
No tree.
What?
You do not have Christmas without a tree.
Well, there are those that manage it, but...
Oh, never mind then.
Right, no,
Because I have a lot of children who go looking for a tree in the Arndale Centre.
Yeah.
Grotto. Yeah, the grotto, if you don't understand it, is just a square thing with balls coming out of it. Apparently it's supposed to be a parcel that's exploded, and all these balls and ribbons and what have you are floating around the Arndale Centre.
Oh, I see what they've done.
It is absolutely pathetic.
You know what they've done, don't you?
Go on.
They've handed it to art.
Art?
Art. Or as you call it, as I always did, art. They've handed it over to art. And once art gets involved, everything else goes out the window.
Well, I don't know who's the manager of the Arndale. I know his name's Barquith, but what his first name is, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I wish to God I could meet him.
And what would you do to him?
Oh, well...
Would you give him a piece of your mind?
Unrepeatable, Alan, on the radio.
But you'd give him a piece of your mind?
Oh, yes, definitely.
What would you say? Keeping the language to a minimum, tell us what you would say, because he might be listening.
Well, first of all, where is the tree? Where is the Christmas tree? Why are there no Father Christmases? Lights that are supposed to be twinkling can't twinkle because of all the flaming store lights and windows that are there. You can't see them. Tell them to come to my house at Christmas and see mine lit up. Give them an idea of what Christmas looks like. Oh, Alan, it is pathetic.
Is it? Oh, well, there you go.
I've just been up to Oldham this morning.
And did you? No, sorry, go on.
It's a smaller shopping centre.
It is.
But it is so nice.
Well.
So nice.
Well, there we are. If the manager of the Arndale is listening, your Christmas decorations are a disgrace.
That's the word.
No tree. Exploding parcels, you know where you can stick them, I think Edna says. And before they explode as well. And then let them go off.
Thank you very much for that,
I'm just trying to help you, love. I'm not taking sides. I'm just trying to help you. Have a good day, Edna.
Thank you.
Cheers now.
Bye.
And I've seen the Santa Claus, unfortunately, sat in Albert Square looking bored out of his mind. Well, he's got a jolly face on, but I know he's putting it on. He's sat there in the rain on a cold seat. I preferred the one who looked over the town hall roof. I did. And anyway, there you are, the Christmas decorations. They're getting them up in Lee. They've put them 4 bells up again. They've got that sorted. Well, scary. 0161228 2255. If you've something to say, that's grand. Even if it is about the Arndale Christmas decoration. I know we have this sort of mantra, all of us, don't we, every year. It's too soon. I'm sorry, it's too soon. Manchester have turned theirs on. You've got them on all over the place. The Arndale have hardly bothered, apparently. I had to go to the Trafford Centre the other day. Theirs are up. It's too soon. Listen, Christmas is not a 6th of the year. We're at the beginning, or we were when they were going up, we're at the beginning of November. That means we've got November and December. That's 2 months. That is 1/6 of the year dedicated to one day. It makes no sense. Eric in Salford. Hiya, Eric.
Hi, Alan. Nice to speak to you again.
And you, sir.
Right. You mentioned something before about the Brits, and then they get snozzled and they want to fight.
They want to fight, yeah.
Right. Well, I think I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, that I worked for 20 years at a health centre, and quite often I'd have lunch with some of the CAT team, community alcohol team, and he was saying that there's basically drink affects you, brings 4 personalities out in you. There's the bellicose, which is that, like we've just been talking about, who you're looking at, get outside and that sort of thing. There's the lacrimose, which gets weepy, you know, nobody loves me, that sort of thing. And then you've got the morose, which is quite depressed.
Yeah, the morose, yeah, they get down there.
And then you've got the jokos, life and so, yeah, get on that dance floor, you know, and that. And I was in a nightclub in Manchester about 15, 20 years ago, and I seen a guy go through all four in about 10 minutes. Right.
Mm.
Also, there's people I know that throw wobblers when they have brandy. If they drink lager or bitter or whatever, they're okay, but as soon as they go near brandy, they want to fight. You know.
How very bizarre.
It is really, and it's just the way drink affects people in different ways. And I'm just wondering whether it's quantity that, you know, I know people from other parts of the world, and they come here, and you talk to them, and they say, "You English, you're mad, you know, you've had about 5 or 6 pints." Well, that's nothing in England, is it? You know, just wonder.
It'd be a lot for me. I'd be felled over well before then.
Well, I probably would as well, but it's nothing when you look at the binge drinking that goes on for 12 hours, 10, 12 hours a day or whatever. It's nothing in comparison to that. And I'm just wondering if it, and there's also, like, when you talk about road rage, they've got in the car with that rage, but it's not really anything to do with the road.
Well, yeah, but that comes back to what I was saying, and it's almost unfortunate that today's the day I'm asking the question. But do we, as a nation, do we have a little slice of aggression in us that they don't appear to have elsewhere?
That I don't know the answer to. You may well be right on that.
You know, when the Germans moved into France, and I'm not offering cowardice or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that. But an awful lot of French people went, "Ça va?" Didn't they? Some didn't, but a lot did. A lot said, "Well, you know." And I didn't understand why until I went to France, and I went to southern France and to the farming regions. And frankly, if you're a farmer in France, it doesn't really make any difference to you who the government is, whether it's a horrible German government or whether it's your own government. You just get on with your life, growing your food, eating, selling, going to market, and you get that shrug, you know. I am not suggesting the French were cowards and surrendered, but there's something different in the psyche, isn't there?
I think there is, Alan. I'm pretty sure there is. And when you speak to people who's been in the army, they come out and saying the British Army is the best in the world, you know, and I've spoken over the years to certain people who've been involved in football hooliganism, coming from Salford. There's a few lads in Salford who used to do that sort of thing, and their mentality was, well, us British won't lie down for nobody, and you know, it goes back to Winston Churchill. We will not be defeated. We'll fight them on. You know, and I just wonder, you know, they talk about the bulldog spirit, the British bulldog spirit. I wonder if that's been indoctrinated unwittingly into our mentality.
Well, if it's there, if we are, if we are to celebrate being better at fighting, either as a nation or people, then we end up in the situation, don't we, where if there isn't, like there was in the 1418 and the 3945 conflicts, there isn't a channel for that. It still exists.
Yeah.
Where does it go? Onto the streets.
Yeah. I think it was right. Sorry, go on, Alan.
I was just saying, that kind of scares me.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about football hooliganism when it was at its highest peak. And Brian Clough, God rest his soul, I used to like Brian Clough.
He's just had a statue erected to his...
Yeah, great man, great man, terrific guy. But he was saying he was blaming football for the violence in Britain. And he said if you take the football away, you'll see it in the streets, you'll see it in the tubes, you'll see it all over the place. You know,
take away the football, they'll find a different excuse, a different reason.
He was saying don't put it on football's doorstep, it's there, you know, and don't label it as ours, sort of thing. And then you look at that and all the drink and the binge drinking and, you know, I've just wondered why young people want to fight when they've had a skinful. And it's the bellicose thing as well, and then it's the indoctrinating of we are the best army in the world and we won't lie down for nobody. I don't know what the answer is, but I didn't know if you knew about the bellicose personality coming out.
I was aware, but good on you, mate.
Okay,
Thank
Alan.
you very much. Drink and fighting. Why is there a connection? There ought not to be. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and the text number is 07786 206 951. If you've got something to say, I'm happy to listen, and we've got someone who's happy to hear it. John Leach in Withington, who's the MP for Withington, Lib Dem, thinks that we should have a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit in rather more places than we have. How say you? Just gone 20 to 1 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Mark Edwardson.
Politicians from across the political spectrum in Greater Manchester have condemned a publicly funded environmental pressure group which is supporting the campaign for congestion charging in Manchester. The 90th anniversary of the armistice at the end of the First World War has been marked by 2 minutes silence across Greater Manchester, and 2 men from London have been found guilty of causing or allowing the death of a 17-month-old boy who was on the Child Protection Register. Manchester's weather, wet and windy, highs of 9 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
If you're travelling on the M6, watch out for long delays on the northbound side of the carriageway between 21 Woolston all the way back to the Thelwall Viaduct. 2 lanes are closed between junction 21 and junction 21A at Croft after several vehicles collided earlier today. Matrix signs are set to 40 miles per hour, and it's lanes 1 and 2 of the 4 that are closed off. Now, the vehicles have been removed from the scene, but it's still looking very slow, I'm afraid, and those 2 lanes are still shut to traffic. Further south of that area, we also have a broken down vehicle between 16 Stoke-on-Trent and 15 where it meets with the A500, although traffic seems to be coping quite well despite the fact that the inside lane of the 3 is still closed off. And Station Road in Wilmslow remains shut to traffic between Wilmslow Park Road and Wilmslow Railway Station. Now, I'm afraid that the stretch of carriageway underneath the railway bridge is flooded, so it's going to be some time yet before it's reopened. But don't forget, if you can update me in the meantime, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Carl Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Joanne Smith.
Good afternoon. Manchester City's executive chairman has dismissed suggestions in this morning's newspapers that Jose Mourinho has been lined up to replace Mark Hughes as Blues manager. City's chairman, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, has already backed Hughes, with Gary Cook now insisting it's business as usual at Eastlands.
You get those reports all the time. They're internal matters. We don't pay too much attention to that. I mean, we had Khaldoon Al-Mubarak here this weekend, and Mark and I and Khaldoon spent some time. We don't have those discussions. We'll leave those discussions and speculations to others.
So you haven't been talking to Jose Mourinho or the people around him?
Not at all.
No. And you're confident that Mark Hughes will be here next season?
Mark Hughes is the manager of Manchester City Football Club.
Matt Truearn there with Gary Cook. So Hughes is meeting the club's owners today to discuss potential transfer targets. But after 5 defeats in their last 7 league games, midfielder Dietmar Hamann knows they need to keep their heads up ahead of Sunday's game against Hull.
They've got their tails up. They've got a very good run, lost the last 2-3 games, but they've already got 20 points on the board, so that won't be easy. And as I said, if we play as a team, defend well, and then obviously with all our attacking options, we can always score. We know we can always score. We'll be fine. But we just have to keep our heads up now, stick together, and things will be better.
Well, it's a big night for Manchester United's youngsters as they get their chance to impress in the Carling Cup 4th round tie against QPR. Ferdinand believes it's a good opportunity for them to gain first-team experience.
The young players nowadays, that's their opportunity to do well. I think we played Coventry last season or the season before. We got knocked out very early, didn't play well at all. It's disappointing for the lads, and I think the older lads in the team and the more experienced lads like to see the young lads do well and try and push on in that tournament, because it's good for us to go and see how they're doing and how well they're coming on as players. So for them in their learning period, it's a great opportunity for them to grow and to experience playing at Old Trafford.
Meanwhile, Arsenal stand in the way of a place in the Carling Cup quarter-final for Wigan. The Latics beat Arsenal to reach the final 3 seasons ago. Former England and Manchester United striker Andy Cole has confirmed his retirement. The 37-year-old's contract was cancelled 2 weeks ago by his hometown club Nottingham Forest, who he joined in the summer. Cole won a host of honours, including 5 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League winners' medal. A few goals have made all the difference to Bolton, according to the manager Gary Megson. He says the performances in the last 2 games haven't been hugely different, but they've got goals from different positions, like Matty Taylor on the score sheet.
We need the other ones who we would expect to score to start chipping in on a more regular basis, but every single one of them defensively puts in a great shift. So I don't think we're ever going to be, and never have been, a team that's going to get 5 and 6 on occasions. but, you know, we've got to make sure that we keep these clean sheets and keep scoring.
From next year, England and Premier League players will be subject to new out-of-competition drug testing. 30 players will be checked 5 times a year. Sales Matthew Tate hasn't been included in England's team for Saturday's international against Australia at Twickenham. He's back in training after recovering from a hamstring injury. Meanwhile, Tate's teammate Andrew Sheridan does start. Johnson's made 2 changes from the team that beat the Pacific Islanders, with Phil Vickery and Tom Palmer replacing Matt Stevens and Nick Kennedy. England's cricketers slumped to a humiliating warm-up defeat just 3 days before the start of the one-day series against India. They lost their warm-up game against a Mumbai 11 in India by 124 runs. Meanwhile, former captain Michael Vaughan will be drafted into the England performance squad, the second string in India. After not being offered a new contract at Salford, Matt Garner has signed for Harlequins. Meanwhile, Oldham Ruffians have signed Irish international Wayne Kerr from London Scholars on a 1-year contract. Prop forward is in Australia, playing for Ireland's World Cup squad.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Tonight, Wigan go to Arsenal in the 4th round of the Carling Cup. There's full match commentary from the Emirates, plus updates from Old Trafford, where Manchester United take on QPR. Tune in to the all-new Manchester Sports from 7.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hot diggity dog. It's good, that, isn't it? Hot diggity. I like this. It's a horrible story, first of all, but a woman from Bradford is demanding compensation from Yorkshire Water after paying her next-door neighbour's water bills for 16 years. Yep, 16 years. Jean Shaw thought it was she, ended up paying too much because her water meter was connected to her neighbour's supply. Mrs Shaw said her bills increased so dramatically that she had to watch every drop of water she used. Her mother, Margaret Wallbank, told the BBC that the episode had affected her daughter psychologically. And this is the bit I like. She's obsessed with water. I mean, when she goes out, she'll say, "You'll be careful how much water you use, won't you? You'll watch it, won't you?" In this day and age, you shouldn't have to think about things like that. Should you, really, she says. I mean, I know you shouldn't turn your tap on and take water for granted. I agree with that. But she's not a spendthrift with water. She's very careful with water. And, of course, it's rubbed onto us. Isn't that called washing? When you rub... when water's rubbed onto you? No. Well, I think it is. 0161 228 2255 if you have something to say. I mentioned that John Leach, the Liberal Democrat MP for Withington, wants a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit in various parts of town, a lot more than there are now. Kevin says a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit? Why not bring back the man with a red flag employed to walk in front of the speeding horseless carriage? If you want to stop kids being killed on the road, teach them to walk on the pavement. I see them in the morning, walking along the dual carriageway, on the outside of the safety barriers. It is true, kids' road sense these days is atrocious, absolutely atrocious, and it kills some of them and still they don't learn. Listen to this from Malcolm. I was watching and enjoying the Service of Remembrance on the BBC on Saturday night. As an ex-Royal Navy serviceman, I enjoy the service from the Albert Hall and the Cenotaph on the Remembrance weekend, and I'm proud to have served the Queen and my country. No one made me do it. I joined as a boy into the Royal Navy because I had the freedom to do just that, given to me by all the servicemen and women before me who served, who fought to enable me to be free to choose. My son followed his dad and served in the Royal Navy, doing tours of duty in the Falklands and the Gulf Wars. My grandson chose to join the army 2 years ago and loves the life. When it came to the readings at Albert Hall on Saturday night, I was incensed to see the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward, have the bare-faced cheek to stand at the lectern to do a reading with 3 medals on his chest. Is this the same guy who couldn't complete his basic training and cried for mummy to get him out of the Royal Marines? He did about 2 minutes, I think, before he cried off. I don't think he even got a Blue Peter badge. I was pleased to note he didn't have any medals on at the Cenotaph. I do really think he's insulted all our servicemen and women, past and present, by his actions on Saturday night. Or is it, Alan, just me, being an old Victor Meldrew? I wonder if any of your other listeners spotted Edward with his medals on. Yours faithfully, Malcolm, RN, retired. Well, the medals on his chest will have been medals for being who he is, won't it? He won't be claiming, Prince Edward, the Earl of Wessex, won't be claiming any kind of bravery by his medals, but he's a member of the royal family, and the royal family get, what should we say? The royal family get medals just for being, don't they? You know, they get Prince of this and Earl of Darkness and all the rest of it. So they get medals. Medals go with that. And if you're attending the ceremony and as a member of the royal family, you're almost duty-bound to do so. If Edward hadn't gone to something of a remembrance event, then people have been saying, where's Edward? Where is he? Why is he not? That's an insult to our service. That's what they would have said. The guy can't win. I'm no supporter of Prince Edward, but the guy can't win. If he doesn't go, then people will say, why the hell didn't he go? That's offensive. If he does go, then if you attend, you have to wear your medals. Even if they are tin pot medals given to you by your mum, you have to wear them. So he's kind of in a bind. But what do you think? Do you think he's right? Do you think our retired naval person is absolutely correct to say Edward should stay out the way? The guy bottled out.
On Friday night, BBC One is doing something different for children in need.
All I want is a room somewhere.
The cast of EastEnders swap Walford for the West End. There's a celebrity dance-off in Strictly Come Dancing, while the Bill sings the Blues Brothers. With performances from Take That, McFly, Girls Aloud, Duffy and Will Young. Children in Need Night is on Friday from 7 on BBC One.
A very good day to you. Hi, Alan. I'm watching the Remembrance Service in Whitehall on BBC News today. I was very surprised and shocked as I'm watching the main topics of the news at the base of the screen. It read, wreaths are being laid in Whitehall today to remember the fallen of 2 world wars. Surely the BBC can find more educated people to work for them. That's Jean in Bury. Well, this does happen sometimes, Jean, and I think it's because it's audio translation. I don't know, I better find out. I think it's audio translation. I think it's done because it's done instantly, it's done via sound. It's a computer, if I remember correctly, and it's probably heard reefs as opposed to wreaths, because reefs is a much more common word than wreaths, except at this time of year. I think that's the explanation. I hope it is. If not, the BBC is employing somebody who can't spell. Well, frankly, let me tell you, the BBC employs an awful lot of people who can't spell, and on certain occasions, I'm amongst them. John in Bury says via email, my daughter lives in Italy and I visit frequently. I think I would too, John. The difference between here and there is that culturally, amongst almost all Italians, excess drinking is seen as disgraceful behaviour. I've attended get-togethers where everybody drinks soft drinks while the tongues of those British present hang out. As a teenager in the 60s in Manchester, I went out on Fridays and Saturdays, and we lads did go for a drink, but if anyone of us got drunk, that individual was ridiculed. There was a culture of holding your drink. Also, most girls did not drink, and they would refuse to have anything to do with a guy who'd drunk too much, and I don't mean fighting drunk. Furthermore, anyone who was rolling drunk and was seen by the police was picked up and banged in the Bootle Street station. Things seem to have changed in the 70s and 80s, led by university students who thought getting smashed was a good idea. This filtered down to the rest of young drinkers. The problem is that excess drinking is now prevalent amongst those youngsters of the 70s and 80s who are these days middle-aged. Incidentally, my wife is French. The French attitude to drunkenness is bemusement. It is weird, isn't it? It is. It's a British disease. Of that, I'm convinced. It is. You don't see it in other countries, or at least when you do, it's what you might call Steady now. It's the Brits that are doing it. Dave in Atherton risks giving me some bother, but I'll read it anyway. Oldham's Roughyads signing of Wayne Kerr may well generate some interesting terrace side chants, including the prop forwards Wayne Kerr. The names some parents saddle us with. Ah, yes. What could you possibly mean? Russ from Lee says, if she was paying the next-door neighbour's water bill for 16 years, what was the next-door neighbour paying? Remember the lady from Bradford? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. Maybe the next-door neighbour wasn't on a meter and was paying directly, if you like, paying monthly or paying a straightforward bill based on the rateable value of years ago and is not on a meter. That could be it. But if the next-door neighbour was also on a meter, then clearly there are questions that ought to have been asked a lot earlier. A 20-mile-per-hour speed limit? Oh, if only. If you take a trip into Manchester from time to time, just out of interest, work out your average speed. If it comes to more than 12 to 15 miles per hour, you'll be lucky. Well, yeah, I don't know. Why do we get people trying continually to slow down traffic? We now live in the 21st century, and we should be looking at ways to improve motorway driving so it could be possible to drive at 90 miles per hour safely. The question to be asked is, what has to be done to raise the slow limit of 30 miles per hour? Pedestrians and cars should be totally separated. It'll cost a fortune, but with good design, anything is possible. Mike in Davyhulme. Oh dear, Mike says we should be separating. We should be saying, OK, they're over there, they're the motorists, they're over there, you're the pedestrians, they're over there. We'd end up with a town like, or a series of towns like, I don't know, Los Angeles, where nobody walks. Nobody walks anywhere. We've already got the situation where we're not doing enough exercise, so much so that fat kids are going to get a free pair of trainers. Oh, yeah, that's a cracking idea, isn't it? Fat kids get a free pair of trainers. What difference will that make? Trainers these days, you don't do training in trainers, do you? No, you don't. It's not like you have a pair of shoes for going out in, and then you have a pair of shoes for knocking about in, and then you have a pair of wellies for wet days, and then you have a pair of trainers for when you go running. We've gone past that. All you have now is a series of trainers. You have the knackered ones that you're gardening. Oh, yeah, completely knackered ones. They're rubbish. Right, I'm gardening then, which is the worst thing you can do, but there you are. And then you have some that are damp because you were out in the rain last night. And then you have your best trainers for when you go into a wedding. I know how it works. Hey, giving fat kids trainers won't do any good. What they should do is give them clogs. That's what they should do. Give them flaming clogs and then tie them to the back of a... You don't have to do it with a fast car. Tie them to the back of a milk float. That'll be a nice start. So you get your fat kid and you tie them to the back of the milk float. It's the reverse of what we used to have. We used to have the milkman's horse, and he would whistle, and the cow... In fact, we could make them push the milk float and save all that electric. They could push it. We could have 20 fat kids, and they have somebody with a whip, and they're forced to push the milk float round. It'd save the milkman a lot of walking, because he could just whistle. Then he'd go, Bella! He used to shout Bella, because our milkman's horse was called Bella. Bella! And Bella used to wander up to the next stop, so he didn't have to come back with the empties. The cart moved along. Well, we just get a couple of fat kids to shove it round. And when they've finished and they've got slim, give them a new suit. They can have like a D-mob suit. It can be a D-blob suit. You remember when you come out of the army in the war, or after the war, you got a D-mob suit. Well, with the fat kids, you recruit the fat kids, you make them spend their mornings pushing milk floats, because, you know, come on. If a AAA battery will make the float, and they're not that heavy, so they'll be all right. Half a dozen fat kids strapped to the back of the milk float, pushing like beggary, saves the milkman's shoe leather. They push it round, and then when they've finished, they're given a free suit, and you can call it a D-blob suit. That'll be absolutely fantastic. I don't see anything wrong with the idea at all. Never mind giving them free trainers and free money. Get the little fat swines working. That's what they need. Bit of exercise, bit of running, and eat less and all, said Dr. Beswick.
Join me, Becky Want, today from 2 with songs and stories from the Forces Sweetheart, right here on BBC Radio Manchester.
Is that me? Am I the Forces Sweetheart? Is it Vera? Is it Vera Lynn? She got Dame Vera Lynn on? I don't think so. I tell you who she has got on. She got David Cassidy, who's a bit like Vera Lynn, really, in lots of ways.
95.1 FM.
DAB Digital Radio.
And the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, a pressure group's under fire for using public funds to promote road pricing in Greater Manchester. And thousands observed 2 minutes silence on the 90th anniversary of the armistice.
Cook dismisses reports Mourinho's on his way to City.
Well, this afternoon it is going to be very windy, it's going to be very cloudy, and we could see the odd shower. Top temperatures 9 Celsius.
Lanes 1 and 2 of the 4 are still closed on the M6 northbound between junction 21 Woolston and 21A the Croft interchange because of an accident early today involving several vehicles.
Good afternoon, I'm Mark Edmondson. MPs from all parties have condemned an environmental pressure group which is supporting the campaign for a Greater Manchester congestion charge. They've criticised the way that public money's been given to the group called Clean Air Now. BBC Radio Manchester's Matt Trewern has the story.
Clean Air Now is an environmental group which has publicly backed Greater Manchester's TIF bid, the plan to invest up to £3 billion in public transport, partly funded by a congestion charge. A group of local MPs from all parties have tabled a Commons motion questioning the financial support for the body. They say it gets public funds from organisations like Manchester City Council and GMPTE. The MPs say it's an inappropriate use of public funds and more care should be taken in the run-up to the referendum.
2 men have been found guilty of causing or allowing the death of a 17-month-old boy who was on the Child Protection Register. The baby's mother has admitted the same charge. The boy, known simply as Baby P, lived in Haringey in North London, the same area where 8-year-old Victoria Clumbier was killed by her great-aunt, a case that led to a shake-up of social services. The 90th anniversary of the armistice at the end of the First World War has been marked by 2 minutes silence across Greater Manchester. Some schools in our area have held special services of commemoration to remember the dead of 2 world wars and other conflicts. Private Lee Ellis from Wythenshawe was killed in Iraq in 2006. His sister, Carla, explains how his death has affected the family.
It's been very difficult. I mean, we were a family. Our girls are in the same class together. The dynamics of everything has changed, and, you know, to watch him being dragged out, you know, in a body box on national television is not something you imagine is ever going to happen.
An 89-year-old veteran of the Second World War has been attacked by burglars after confronting them at his home in Lancashire. Bob Schofield and his 87-year-old wife Molly from Salterforth are being treated in hospital for shock. Police say the level of violence used was obscene. The Conservatives are pledging tax breaks to companies that take on unemployed workers if they win the general election. Firms are being promised a cut in their national insurance contributions by up to £2,500 a year for everyone they recruit who's been jobless for at least 3 months. Gordon Brown's dismissing the proposal, saying it would be too expensive to operate. But the Shadow Chancellor and Tatton MP George Osborne says it will be financed from savings in unemployment benefit.
In a situation where you have rising unemployment, where people are starting to be out of work for a considerable period of time, and here is a sensible measure. By the way, I think that the government will come out with something similar to this in the coming months, because it is a very sensible, funded step you can take with tax, a tax cut, not a tax con.
The number of new mortgages for buying a house fell to another record low in September, in spite of the government's decision to increase the stamp duty threshold. Just 35,000 mortgages were taken out, less than half of the level in September 2007. And the Manchester United manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, has been given parliamentary recognition on the eve of his 50th anniversary in football. The Labour MP, Jim Sheridan's, tabled a Commons motion pointing out that this Friday, Fergie will celebrate his half-century in the game. That's when he made his debut for the Scottish club Queen's Park against Stranraer as a 16-year-old amateur. The MP says Sir Alex has had many achievements in the game and wishes him every success for the future.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Joanne Smith.
Manchester City's executive chairman has dismissed suggestions in this morning's newspapers that Jose Mourinho has been lined up to replace Mark Hughes as Blues manager. City's chairman, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, has already backed Hughes, with Gary Kirk now insisting the manager is staying and discussing potential transfer targets. Meanwhile, midfielder Alana has spoken of his disappointment at his lack of first-team activity for the club this season. The Brazilian says he wants to continue to fight for his place after limited opportunities under Mark Hughes in recent weeks. It's a big night for Manchester United's youngsters as they get their chance to impress in the Carling Cup fourth-round tie against QPR. Meanwhile, Wigan will hope for a repeat of 3 years ago when they face Arsenal at the Emirates. The Latics beat the Gunners to book a place in the final against United. Former England and Manchester United striker Andy Cole has confirmed his retirement. He won a host of honours, including 5 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League winners' medal. And finally, Sale's Matthew Tate hasn't been included in England's team for Saturday's international against Australia at Twickenham, despite recovering from a hamstring injury, although Tate's teammate Andrew Sheridan does start.
BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, this afternoon we've got a little bit of everything, but the thing that you will notice is the wind. It's gale force or severe gale force, westerly or northwesterly, gusting at times up to 60 miles an hour, so you'll certainly notice it across Transpennine routes. There's a lot of cloud around. It'll thin and break from time to time to give us a brief sunny interval here or there. It'll also thicken up enough to bring us the odd shower. Top temperatures today, 9 Celsius.
Allan Beswick, halfway through your workday.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Guy says my fat kids can't wait to get their free trainers. That should make them look smart in McDonald's, and then they can trade them in for extra fries. I think you might have hit on something there. Oh, dear, dear, dear. I've never worn a pair of trainers in my life, says Christopher in Middleton. And I'm not a big fat lump, but then again, I don't have racing stripes on my knife and fork either. Yeah, you see, the bottom line is, if the government thinks we're too fat, that's fine, they're entitled to their point of view. There's a debate to be had about what business is it of theirs, or mine for that matter. But if that's the decision, then frankly, the only way to get fat people thin is to stop them eating. There's nothing else does it. All the rest is window dressing. The way to stop being fat is to eat less than you use. Now, using a bit more won't do you any harm, but I'm afraid it's food. Too much in, too much out as well in another way. But everything else is hogwash. So, I don't know, maybe they should weld their teeth together or something for a fortnight. That'll do it. As I say, the only way to get your daughter or your son a lot thinner is to lock them in the bedroom and push a lettuce leaf under there every couple of days, whether they need it or not. Crazy. And this David Cameron's idea for tax breaks for businesses. I've just got... You see, the claim is... Now, I don't want to pick holes in his policy, but it's up to him what he offers to the electorate. But frankly, it doesn't bear examination logically. David Cameron today called for tax breaks for businesses that take on new workers from the dole queue, claiming that would cut unemployment by 350,000 in a year. It's not logical. The idea is that if you need an employee and you employ somebody off the dole and they've been on the dole for 3 months, then you take that person, you get a reduced cost because you're exempted, you get a tax break if you like, you're exempted some of the taxes you have to pay for that employee for a period of time. Well, okay, that's one person off the dole queue, but it's not one extra job, is it? It's one person off the dole queue who's been on it for 3 months. But it's one person on the dole queue who's not been on it for 3 months. It doesn't reduce unemployment. It reduces the cost to the employer, and good luck to him or her for that. He then says it'll be funded out of the reduction in unemployment, but there won't be a reduction in unemployment. The same number of people will be working. It'll just mean that some who haven't worked for a while will be working, and some who have only just stopped working won't be able to get a job. Or have I missed something here? Is there something in this that I've not spotted? Because David Cameron's a lot cleverer than me. God bless us and save us. His parents paid 40,000 quid on his education. He damn well should be a lot cleverer than me. So, frankly, it doesn't bear examination, does it? If it encourages employers to take on employees that they don't need, or that they need but can't afford, so they take them on because they won't be as expensive as they thought they were, well, OK, I can see that as a bearing, but I remember the job creation schemes. Do you remember those? Do you remember job creation schemes back in the 70s, where people were given jobs that, frankly, only because it cost the employer nothing? Yes, it took people off the dole, young people generally. We had the situation where young people were employed to count lampposts and things like that. And it affected the unemployment, but it didn't do us any damn good, did it? Or did it? You tell me. There's a queue a mile long now of political parties. Even Gordon Brown, who, as you know, is as tight as a duck's bum on a good day. Even Gordon Brown is suggesting that we're going to get tax cuts. For crying out loud, they're chucking money at the banks like there's no tomorrow. They're chucking money at thee and me like there's no tomorrow. Where will it all end? In debtor's prison, I suspect.
Mornings sound better with Eamon O'Neill and Diane Oxford.
Eamon and Diane.
Eamon, can you please explain, when the public spend, interest rates go up to stop us spending, then when we stop, they're going to complain?
You make a really good point, actually. We can't win, can we?
No.
I think the problem is when we're spending, as a rule, we're not really spending our own money.
Eamon and Diane and you.
Who is on your wall?
Susan Morn.
You wanna be
Bobby's girl.
Bobby's girl.
I wanna be. Oh, yeah. Did you have lino on the floor at the time?
Yes, we certainly did. And a little rug made out of coconut matting.
The station with Eamon and Diane for breakfast.
Those massive superstars.
Back tomorrow morning from 6 at BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Would you like to join us? Excellent. 01612282255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk and the tax number 07786 206 951. Lynn in Bury. Hiya, Lynn.
Hello, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Well, I've got a query, and it's been mithering me for weeks.
Okay.
Well, two things first. I must get this off my chest first.
All right.
When they do the weather forecast at night, it jars me unmerciful because there's nothing from Newcastle to Birmingham on the map. So and then they'll talk about the northwest of England. How the hell do they know where the northwest is? Because there's no... it jars me every night, Alan.
Well, you should watch the Northwest Tonight news. It's got all the Northwest on, including they name different villages and towns every night.
Yeah, but that's only our little thing, isn't it?
Well, it's the same. It's the same weather.
Well, it makes my knuckles rise every night.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry for that.
Because I'm a Lancastrian, you see.
Yeah.
And I'm quite proud of it. And we never even get a mention. It really does.
Well.
Blast me off.
Well, they're probably just jealous
More than likely.
that they don't live here.
Because we have the best sort of.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Not the best weather, mind, but never mind.
God, it's repulsive, isn't it? Right, now.
Go on. So you got that off your chest.
I've got that. Yeah. I had to say, I've been phoning you up for weeks, but never had the guts.
All right.
Anyway, we watch News at 6 and then Gordon Burns and Ramya Singh after.
Yeah.
Now, on the credits that come up, the last half a second on the credits, can anybody tell me, is it the old facade of Bury Market?
Oh, blimey, now you've got me now.
Because every night it's not on.
So do you mean the rolling credits at the beginning?
Yeah.
Where they do all that music?
That's right.
Drives you mad. The tram goes by and all that cape.
That's it. But I try and pause it, but I've missed it about 6 times. So. I'm a technological
Have you thought of doing some exercises with your thumbs? Just to get them more agile so you can catch it in time.
With my bum?
Your thumb? What are you trying to do to me?
We're deteriorating rapidly here, aren't we?
You said you were scared of coming on. I'm scared of you coming on again. No, with your thumb. Although, if you want, you do what exercises you want, love. You could end up with a pert little bottom.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I don't know the answer to your question, but...
It's been intriguing me for weeks.
Well, we shall ask. There's loads. I think there's about 2 million people watch that, probably more.
Yeah.
So does anybody know what the very last frame, as they call it in the telly world, right?
Yeah.
The last frame of the North West Tonight pre-programme credits. Have I got it right?
That's right, and I'm sure it's the facade of the old Bury Market.
Yeah, I've got my doubts. I'll tell you why I've got my doubts. Because they redo them credits every couple of years.
Oh, right.
And I don't think they do historical stuff in it.
Oh, because, it's basically like an old black and white clip.
Is it? Oh, well,
Yeah.
it might be then. It might be. Anyway, there it is. All right. Good on you. Lynn wants to know, what is the last frame, what is the picture in the last frame of the North West Tonight credits? All right?
Thank you very much, Alan.
Good on you.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
0161 228 2255. What do you think it is? You see it every night. I see it most nights. What do you think it is? Because I've never noticed. I never watched the credits. I'm sorry to all the people who produce North West Tonight, but I never watch the credits. I can't be bothered. I'm sure they're important. I watch the credits at the end of films, specifically old films. You do this as well, so don't look at me like that. You do. We all do this. When we watch an old film, we look at the credits to see if there's anybody in there playing a nothing part. You know, like third spear chucker from the rest. Yeah. I don't care that they're only 9 seconds wrong. I can't spare that time every night. You imagine over a year how much time you've wasted watching the credits. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. 9 seconds. How does he know they're 9 seconds long? God almighty. Doesn't leave it in our patch. How does he know? I suppose they're 9 seconds long everywhere. I don't care. But what is the last frame? Yeah, you should, you're right. 0161 228 2255. If you know what that picture was. Right. When I was in Benidorm, says Vinny in Salford, the pensioners there pushed their Zimmer frames wearing trainers. Why were their Zimmer frames wearing trainers? Most people just have one of them little rubber stopper things on the end. That's a bit extravagant, isn't it? I said earlier that lads joined up for the First World War particularly because they thought it'd be a bit of a lark. Remember the times, 100 years ago, people rarely left their home village, certainly never left their town. People from Wigan stayed in Wigan. People from Stockport stayed in Stockport, Warrington, wherever. Generally, people stayed in their own town. They did. They didn't have the money to move, and transport wasn't that easy anyway. I know some did, but generally, they didn't. People stayed. And then there was suddenly this opportunity of an adventure in a foreign land. And they signed up for it. And I said, they went for a lark. Near Allan, says Umtalis. I agree that many, if not most men, think that war is going to be a bit of fun, a lark. But as somebody who's served on active service with both the British and the Rhodesian armies, once you're at the sharp end, you soon find out just how bloody awful it really is. I've seen and done things I'll never speak about. Old soldiers don't discuss the truly awful things, only the funny things and the good times. It's the smells and emotions that no film can ever portray. Those who've not been at the sharp end can never really understand. I had a bellyful, enough to last me 1,000 lifetimes. I won't even kill the squirrels that my neighbours keep feeding and are digging up my garden. Well, you're right, of course. There is no question. You are unequivocally correct. And yes, people, men, did join for a lark. They did. They went off with a jaunty step, and they came back rather more sombre. And why wouldn't they? It was horrible. War is still horrible. Even the so-called wars we have now, I say so-called as if they weren't, but even the wars we have now, they're not clean. They are not. But people join up. They think, well, you know, they used to do adverts for it, didn't they? They used to do adverts for the army saying, join the British Army and see the world. I remember one. They used to have it lads, that's all they were, lads, sitting on the running board of a helicopter. Well, sitting on the helicopter floor with their feet on the running board as it flew over the jungle or flew over Hong Kong or Belize or any of those places, saying, come on, join the modern army and see the world. Well, they don't do that anymore, because, of course, you see the world now. You see it through the sight of a gun. It has changed a lot. 0161 228 2255. When the lady gets it off her chest, how come it's not accompanied by a pinging sound? What could he possibly mean? I'm dwelling not at all. And somebody mentioned the Royal Navy chap. He mentioned Prince Edward. Talis, who was just emailing us, has something to say about that. And he says, I agree with every word the ex-Royal Navy chap said. You're right, Prince Edward has to attend these functions. But he should not wear any medals on any uniform. Mine cost a lot of lives, and some who would have been better off dead. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to a serviceman. As for me, I survived because I had a lot of luck. Well, OK. But you're still left in this position, aren't you? It's very, very difficult. It's... Do you, as Prince Edward, not attend? OK. Then, if you don't attend, you're in the doghouse with the press, of course. Or, do you attend and not wear medals? In which case, you're offending people by being, for want of a better term, out of uniform, as it were, being improperly dressed, as they say. Or do you attend and wear the medals that Her Majesty has given you, even though that they're Toy Town medals and worth, frankly, nothing? Whichever you do. Now, I'm no supporter of the Royals and no supporter of Edward, but whatever he does in that situation is stuffed. He can't win, can he? But then, why should he? 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Jessica Robbins.
MPs from all parties have condemned an environmental pressure group which is supporting the campaign for the Greater Manchester Congestion Charge. 2 men have been found guilty of causing or allowing the death of a 17-month-old boy who was on the Child Protection Register. And an 89-year-old veteran of the Second World War has been attacked by burglars after confronting them at his home in East Lancashire. Manchester's weather wet and windy, highs of 9 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester. 2020 traffic.
Well, traffic finally seems to be easing up on the M6 northbound now that all lanes have been reopened between 21 at Woolston and 21A at Croft. There was an accident there involving several vehicles earlier today. As I say, all of them have now been recovered. Don't forget, if you're using Station Road or planning to in the Wilmslow area, it's flooded still between Wilmslow Park Road and Wilmslow Railway Station. The council don't have an estimated time yet for the road to be reopened, but we'll keep you updated throughout the day. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Right, I deliver this information and hesitate slightly. But the very last shot of the opening credits of North West Tonight at 6:30-ish each weekday evening is taken from the top of the Premier Inn, which is an hotel, looking over Urbis, or looking in the Urbis direction, if you like. In the credits, there are also representations of Buxton, Liverpool, Chester and Blackpool. No mention of Bury Market, old or young. So the very last shot is from Manchester, and it looks from the top of the Premier Inn, and it looks over Urbis. So it looks in the Urbis direction. That's that big pointy building. I'm going there. Anyway, there's also pictures of Buxton, Liverpool, Chester and Blackpool. And if there's a big space in North West tonight, then it's your fault, Lynn, because the whole of the production team have been watching the credits because they didn't know what was in them either. They obviously don't waste the 7 seconds watching them that I don't waste. Sid in Audenshaw. Hiya, Sid.
Hello there.
Hello, what can we do for you, mate?
Well, what it was, I've had a pamphlet shoved through the door for the Yes campaign for the congestion charge.
All right.
It's printed on the back from Manchester, the address in Manchester. The Greater Manchester Yes campaign at Key Street.
Yeah.
Key House, Manchester.
Okay.
Now, I phoned my MP up and said, I think this is wrong. Who's funding it? Because I heard on the radio that it was funded by the MPT, is it, and City Council. Some of it all make contributions. And they strongly denied this. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
They said it strongly denied this. There's no funding at all by Manchester City Council nor the GMPTE. It was done by Greater Manchester Future. Some authority like that they've got. I don't know where. I've never heard of it before.
Okay, well, it does exist, but go on, yeah.
Well, they said that's the only one, and the businessmen of Manchester are funding it. So all I'm saying, they said they don't fund it, and yet it's been announced a few times that it's come through where it's the MPT and City Council are funding it. So I just wondered...
Well, hang on, I'm a bit confused now, because you quoted what it said on the leaflet, and it said that it was published by Greater Manchester...
No, sorry. Go on, carry on.
Greater Manchester Future Transport.
No, I said it's published by the Greater Manchester Yes campaign.
Yes.
From Key House, Key Street.
Yes.
Now then, earlier on the radio, I've heard it that the GMPTE and the Greater and the City Council was partly funding this Yes campaign. Now the MP's office strongly deny this and said they've nothing to do with whatsoever. They're not putting any money in at all.
Well, that is also my understanding, that they are not funding a Yes campaign.
All right.
You see, not all the local authorities in Greater Manchester are in favour of the congestion charge. It's not for me to tell you which are and which aren't, but not all of them are in favour. And my understanding is that the two campaigns are being led by people from outside of the local authorities and are being funded by people, some fairly wealthy people, from outside the local authorities. Now, it's not even fair to name the companies, really, but there's one very, very major investor in the Manchester conurbation who is dead set against the congestion charge, and they're funding, along with others, not alone in it, but along with others, are funding the No campaign. And there's another organisation, a very, very wealthy investor in Manchester, who is in favour of the congestion charge, and they are funding, along with others, the Yes campaign. And I don't think the local authorities of any hue or flavour are funding any advertising, as it were. I could be wrong. I can tell you the congestion charge, and this may scare you off or may interest you, I don't know, but I think it's a week on Friday we're having a debate about the congestion charge because it's just preceding the vote, as it were, or the time you'll start making your votes because it's postal. And we're having a debate. The whole of this programme will be given over to the congestion charge, and we've got... I won't name them yet because they're not confirmed entirely, but we've got some of the major, what we might say, the major contributors to the debate, including we've already confirmed we've got Sir Richard Leese, we've got Liz Phelan, who used to be the head of libraries in Greater Manchester, but is now the head of the congestion charge thingamajig. So we got her. She's the head of the TIF bid, I think. But anyway, we'll get all that right on the day. And we've got people who are diametrically opposed as well. So we'll be able to look at the issue. And we've got an invited audience who will also take part in the debate. And we should be able, in the first hour, to get to the bottom of what the principles are all around it, with the people who are part of it. And then in the second hour, it'll be us talking about it, by us, I mean you, me, and anybody else that wants to. So that's a week on Friday. But as I say, I don't think the local authorities are actually funding either of the campaigns.
No, that's one part of it solved. The other part was some gentleman from the council did announce on the radio that the retail park at the Snipe would be exempt and certain other parts. Now then, since then, the Minister's Transport has been on and said that they're giving no concessions whatsoever. Whatever was wrote down in the first place remains and stands. So there were no concessions other than, what's already been said through the paper.
Yeah. Well, again, it's what we might call... There is so much information flying round that some of it is a bit tricky to grasp. But let me... I mean, I don't know whether you heard the 1 o'clock news, but there's a Clean Air Now. Now, who are they? That's an environmental group. And they've publicly backed Greater Manchester's bid.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. And the plan to invest £3 billion, blah, blah, blah. Well, a group of local MPs from all parties have tabled a Commons motion questioning the financial support for that body. They say it gets public funds from organisations like the City Council and GMPTE.
Yeah.
So the MPs are saying it's inappropriate for the local authorities to give funding to that organisation, which then, as an organisation, campaigns for clean air. But of course, I don't know the ins and outs of those contributions to that organisation. The Clean Air Manchester existed before the TIF bid.
Yeah, well, I brought that up to see if it's been diverted, the money diverted to this clean air thing by public funds or even government funds.
Well, as I say, the Clean Air organisation were in existence and were getting funding, is my understanding, from the local authorities before there was any talk of the congestion charge bid. I mean, I've interviewed the Clean Air people for years, but how they are funded and what proportion of their funding and what the strings attached to that funding is or are, I'm afraid at this stage I don't have a clue. Are you for or against the congestion charge, or do you not yet know?
I'm against the congestion charge. I live right in the middle of them.
Yeah, but
so anywhere I move, I'll be paying.
Right, so you...
I'm thinking of getting a pony and trap and congesting them.
Well, that could be good for us all. Can I have the outdroppings for me roses?
Oh, yes. And I tell the Clean Air people to keep eating the cabbage.
Have a good day, mate. Good on you.
Okay, then. Cheers, then.
Just to reiterate, a week on Friday, so that's like, what, 10 days away? 11 days away? Oh, I don't know. I can't do sums. You know I can't do sums. I certainly can't do them in my head. Anyway, a week on Friday, the whole of this programme will be given over to the congestion charge debate, or the TIF debate, with, as I say, some of the leaders of all sides and all persuasions will be there. And you'll have your opportunity afterwards to, having heard it, put your point of view, if you so desire. No wonder the government can afford to give money away. From the 15th of September 2010, if you haven't reached 60, you wouldn't get the winter heating allowance until 65. Men and women in line with women having to work until they're 65. This will rise even further as the years go on, due to the retirement age going up even higher. I wonder if this will also apply to eye tests, prescriptions, bus passes, etc., which at present are free to the over 60s. Not that I'm cynical, says Marion in Salford. 0161 228 2255. Keith in Culture. Hiya, Keith.
Hi, Alan. I'm glad to say I can't wait to get my eating allowance. I'm at the age where it's my first time this year.
Oh, is it? Oh, excellent.
Yes,
I get my first one next year.
Yeah, I'll go and get a few bags of crisps from the shop, or something like that.
Hey, it's quite a wodge. It's 200 quid or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed, yeah.
I could do with it this year. I'm thinking of phoning up saying, give us 100 quid this year and 90x. They save a tenner.
It's a knock-a-hole in the weekend somewhere, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Alan, if I could make 3 points.
Go on.
Two alluding to yesterday for the brewing industry, and a couple of one when you first kicked off about the soldiers and such like. I'm concerned about the brewing industry, and I better fly my flag straight away. I am a real ale freak, so, camera, etc., etc.
Poor thing. Doesn't like it if it hasn't got toenails. I'm not drinking it. Go on.
It lifts the duvet good style in the morning.
Yeah.
And I currently understand that there's about 56 to 57 pubs a week closing in Great Britain alone.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and for various reasons. I'm sure some of it is probably due to the fact that, as you alluded to yesterday, supermarkets are selling beer and wine, etc., etc. I think they'll flip up petrol. They're probably doing dentistry soon, and eventually I don't think there's anything we can buy except at a supermarket. But the other point you were making, I think it was yourself made the point about Guinness. There's now 3 different temperatures of Guinness.
Yes.
And Guinness is a stout, and I understand that to make its flavour, it needs to be served warm. And they're serving it cold, and I understand that's to try and bite into the lager market.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think a lot of people are now drinking temperature instead of taste. And I think that alludes to beer as well. But that's what I was going to say.
Well, somebody came on yesterday, actually, during the court and said he hates the fact that British bitter and mild is now served chilled.
That's right.
We're supposed to drink warm beer. It's people used to laugh at us for it.
Absolutely. We don't do that in this country. Warm beer is essential. The Australians do cold beer, and they laugh at us for doing warm beer. But of course, either beer wouldn't serve well in each other's country.
Quite.
And but again, I go back to we're drinking. It's about flavour, and there's some beautiful little breweries in the northwest, small breweries that are putting out some lovely beers. And I'm glad to say it does me proud to go into some pub somewhere and see half a dozen lads and the teenagers drinking bitter. It's wonderful.
Quite
English lads are going to be English lads again.
And I bet they're not fighting either.
No, they're not. They're probably all train spotters, anoraks like me, Alan, eventually.
There's no wrong with that. Listen, train spotting never killed anyone except the lad who fell off the bridge.
Well, you must have seen a few numbers of Dalham Sheds as a lad.
Dalham Sheds, dear God. I never got into train spotting. I'm not really a collector.
No, I
can't be doing with it.
No, I stopped it when they became diesels because they all look the same.
Yeah.
And they don't smell enough, they don't chuff out some smoke and steam and all. They don't make much of a noise.
If it smells, you want.
Wheels on, isn't it?
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? In fact, it went full circle because I knew one of the designers. There was a bloke who was actually married to someone I worked with, and he was one of the designers in, now where would it be, Barrow or somewhere like that.
Well, there was Barrow and there was down south.
Yeah, but Barrow, they designed the Pacer. Is that what it was called, the Pacer? And originally it was a bus, and it had the sort of that big ledge at the back end of the bus on the roof. And they swapped it all around, and they just basically they took the bottom off it and put bogies on it and turned it into a train.
Yeah.
And he was one of the designers that made that design of changing it. And so they were just buses on trails, really.
Yeah. Somebody just built a completely new, a brand new loco. I forget what model it was. I think we used to call it Britannia class. And it was on the TV the other day, a completely brand new one.
From scratch?
From scratch. The boiler was made in Germany, and they run it out a couple of months ago.
Go on.
Just the final point that if I could make about soldiers and such like.
Yes.
I notice these days, obviously, soldiers from the first and certainly the first, and these days, along with the Second World War, not many of them left. And it seems that, unfortunately, the British legions seem to be dying on the feet. When I say the British Legion, the pubs,
Yes, I know what you mean. They are.
Yeah, and it's a shame. But and I suppose things have changed as well. There's so much. When a young soldier comes on now, he's got a multitude of places he can go and enjoy himself. He doesn't have to go and talk war in the Legion, and which I always found a bit sad. I always felt guilty with it. I'm roughly the same vintage as you, and I didn't fight in any of the wars. I'm a 40s child. I always felt a bit guilty that I couldn't do me bit, of course, and you'd sit there and listen to these old guys telling the war stories, but nevertheless, our generation, or dare say my generation, and younger, did its bit in the Falklands War, rightly or wrongly.
Well, indeed. I mean, my dad always said that he fought the war so that everybody else wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, Mind you, he also said that film, what was it called? Not The Longest Day, the other one. The one of the Arnhem raid. I've forgotten that.
A Bridge Too Far?
A Bridge Too Far, he always said that can't be real because I'm not in it. I don't think he'd quite worked out how telly worked,
No. Well, you may well Old Town. There's a few nice pubs now. I don't think I'm allowed to mention them, am I?
Oh, get it off your chest. I won't be going to them.
None of the players. Where Rylands used to be.
I do remember where Rylands used to be. My dad used to go to Rylands.
That's right, yeah. I'm a builder, so I used to get me wire nails from there, but not anymore. There was an old pub across the way, a lovely big Victorian red brick fronted pub, which is called the Albion.
We know the Albion.
You know it?
Yeah.
Well, it was boarded up a while ago, and
is it reopened?
It's reopened. Some brave chaps took it on called Mark, and he's selling real ale. He's getting a brewery together, and God bless him. So I'll jump on bus with my bus pass, and
you'll be all right. Yeah, spend your eating allowance.
£200, yeah.
Good on you, Keith.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Howard in Flixton says he's getting £250 eating allowance this year. Jammy pig. Mind you got to be old, so it's I mean, it looks good until you realise you've got to be old. And good afternoon, Mr. B, says Tom in Hazel Grove, but I can't resist asking, when do you start on your milk round? I do it every morning, that's why I don't start till 12. And what do you think the animal rights are going to say about you making Bella redundant? Bella the milkman's horse won't be made redundant because Bella the milkman's horse has been dead since, well, she's been dead now for 50 years. Yeah. They took her away and shot her. Because I remember my mum telling me that they've shot Bella, and we got a milk float then, we got one of them electric ones, and they said they've shot Bella, and I have visions of her being shot like in a cowboy film, but it wasn't. I think it was just the vet and the bolt. If indeed that's what they did, I don't know. But I did a programme about the salt mines, and they used to go down the salt mine in a tube that was only a metre across, but they used to take the horses down. And they did. They took horses down the salt mines as ponies, tiny little foals, and they took them down the salt mines. And then, of course, they were fed and everything else until they were big enough to work. And then they worked. And when they closed the salt mine, the last thing they did was shoot the horses. That was the last thing they did, because they couldn't get them up the hole, because the hole was only a metre across. So they just shot them down there. They're still down there under Cheshire. You could probably hear them in the night. Nay. Yeah, the ghost of the horses. No, nothing to do with Bella. 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Jessica Robbins.
Politicians from across the political spectrum in Greater Manchester have condemned an environmental pressure group which is supporting the campaign for congestion charging in Manchester. A couple found dead at their Trafford home yesterday would have celebrated their 55th wedding anniversary today. Ken and Eileen Martin were both in their late 70s. The Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson has been given parliamentary recognition on the eve of his 50th anniversary in football. Manchester's weather wet and windy, highs of 9 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, thankfully, traffic on the M6 all completely back to normal now that those lanes have been reopened to traffic between 21 Woolston and junction 21A at the Croft interchange. There was an accident there earlier today, but as I say, all vehicles have now been moved off the carriageway. Signalling problems in the Atherstone area at the moment mean delays up to 40 minutes on Virgin train services between London Euston and Manchester Piccadilly. It's also affecting services through to Liverpool Lime Street and Preston as well. Now, there was a signalling problem this morning. That was resolved. However, we're now being informed it's returned again, so Virgin train services are liable to 40-minute delays or diversions between Rugby and Stafford. Don't forget, though, if you can update me further, call in the travel line numbers 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester, Sports with Joanne Smith.
Good afternoon. Reports that Inter Milan boss Jose Mourinho has been lined up to replace Mark Hughes as Blues manager have been dismissed by the club's executive chairman Gary Cook. Yesterday, the Blues chairman Khaldoon Al-Mubarak rubbish speculation Hughes' job is under threat, with Cook now insisting it's business as usual at Eastlands.
You get those reports all the time. They're internal matters. We don't pay too much attention to that. I mean, we had Khaldoon Al-Mubarak here this weekend, and Mark and I and Khaldoon spent some time. We don't have those discussions. We'll leave those discussions and speculations to others.
So you haven't been talking to Jose Mourinho or the people around him?
Not at all.
No, and you're confident that Mark Hughes will be here next season?
Mark Hughes is the manager of Manchester City Football Club.
Matt Truan there with Gary Cook. So Hughes is meeting the club's owners today to discuss potential transfer targets. But after 5 defeats in their last 7 league games, midfielder Deep Mahaman knows they need to keep their heads up ahead of Sunday's game against Hull.
They've got a tails up. They've got a very good run, lost the last 2-3 games, but they've already got 20 points on the board, so that won't be easy. And as I said, if we play as a team, defend well, and then obviously with all our attacking options, we can always score. We know we can always score. We'll be fine. But we just have to keep our heads up now, stick together, and things will be better.
Manchester United's youngsters get their chance to impress in the Carling Cup 4th round tie against QPR tonight. Meanwhile, Arsenal stand in the way of a place in the Carling Cup quarter-finals for Wigan. The Latics beat Arsenal to reach the final 3 seasons ago, with goalkeeper Chris Kirkland hopeful they can upset the Gunners again.
It'll be nice to say, but it's going to be extremely tough, especially at their place, and they've got some cracking youngsters, but we'll make sure that we prepare right and give it a good go. They're a great team, and I'm sure whatever team they put out, it's going to be a big test for us, but we'll get out with a lot of confidence.
Former England and Manchester United striker Andy Cole has confirmed his retirement. The 37-year-old's contract was cancelled 2 weeks ago by his hometown club Nottingham Forest, who he joined in the summer. Cole won a host of honours with the Reds, including 5 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League winners' medal. Jussi Jääskeläinen says Bolton must build on their 2 straight victories in the Premier League. The Bolton goalkeeper produced a man-of-the-match display in the win over Hull on Saturday, and he's hopeful they can continue with their winning form.
Hopefully this is start for the better things. This back-to-back wins-wise very, very important because the way where we are at the moment, but we have to keep going. We've been playing well, but that's first goal has been missing, and the last 2 games we score first, and after that we got 2 good results. But like I said, we have to keep going now.
From next year, England and Premier League players will be subject to new out-of-competition drug testing. 30 players will be checked 5 times a year, bringing the sport in line with World Anti-Doping Agency regulations. Macclesfield's FA Cup second-round tie at Port Vale will be played on Friday, the 28th of November, with a 7:45 kick-off. Sales Matthew Tate hasn't been included in England's team for Saturday's international against Australia at Twickenham. He's back in training after recovering from a hamstring injury. Tate's teammate Andrew Sheridan does start. Well, Johnson has made 2 changes from the team that beat the Pacific Islanders, with Phil Vickery and Tom Palmer replacing Matt Stevens and Nick Kennedy. England captain Kevin Peterson doesn't seem too concerned about their embarrassing 124-run defeat to a second-string Mumbai 11. The defeat comes just 3 days before the start of the one-day series against India.
I'm not really too fussed about today. I just want the boys to know that there's a few key lessons that to be learned today, respecting the opposition and just getting on with it now and turning our heads on for Friday.
After not being offered a new contract at Salford, Matt Garner has signed for Harlequins. Oldham Ruffians have signed Irish international Wayne Kerr from London Scholars on a 1-year contract. The prop forward is in Australia playing for Ireland's World Cup team.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
We can go to Arsenal in the 4th round of the Carling Cup. 4-match commentary from the Emirates from 7, plus updates from Old Trafford, where Manchester United take on QPR.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Right, I'm grateful to Evelyn in Stockport. You remember the email I read out about reefs, R-E-E-F-S? Someone has sent you a message about the word wreaths being spelt wrongly and made a remark about people employed by the BBC who are unable to spell. Well, my son, says Evelyn, my son is a subtitler for the BBC and is superb at spelling. When a programme is live, it's usually done, the subtitling that is, on voice recognition and is immediately on screen, so can be neither erased nor checked. And then she says, I remember watching Coronation Street with subtitles on, and they were talking about a metal detector. Craig, somebody or other, who's the co-owner of the taxi company, said they're brilliant. My uncle had one and found something. Then the subtitles read, he got £2,000 from a pawn shop. P-O-R-N. Goodness knows what he found, says Evelyn. This programme's subtitled before screening and should have been altered. But at least it gave me a laugh. They might have meant a pawn shop. Although the mind does boggle, doesn't it, really? My mind boggles a lot sitting here. John in Warrington. Hiya, John.
Hi, Alan. It's about the congestion charge.
OK.
I'm just wondering if you could clarify a point that's been bothering me for a couple of weeks now. From what I understand, if the congestion charge goes ahead, they're going to invest $1.5 billion into public transport.
Yes.
And then at a later date, through the charges raised, they'll invest more into public transport.
Yes.
Now, the reason I emphasise public transport, I was under the impression that the bus companies and other transport companies were private companies.
They are.
So does that mean we're going to give money to private companies to buy new buses to run about and charge us? And if during that time they're not making a profit, will they be able to stop those new buses from running? And will we have any control over those private companies, directors, taking the extra money that we've given them to pay themselves a lot more money as directors and pay their shareholders bigger earnings on their shares from all the extra money that they're earning from the 1.5 billion the taxpayers invested into their private companies?
Yes. Is the answer to your question? Yes. At the moment, we subsidise private bus companies already. There are many, many parts of the public transport business which can't, whatever you do with it, can't make a profit. That includes, by the way, our national railways. And what is done is the government nationally, the local authorities locally, in our case, the collection of 10 local authorities known as Greater Manchester Passenger Transport Authority, which incidentally doesn't cover Warrington, you're under Cheshire, but no matter. So the money is given to bus companies so that they can run services that otherwise would not run. The companies have to bid for that money, they have to ask for it, they have to say, look, we're going to drop this service because it's not making a profit, and they have to produce accounts and evidence to that effect. And if the local authority think it's a good idea, then they will fund it. They will say, OK, here's some money towards it, or indeed here's some money for the whole service. So, yes is the answer to your question. The money will be given to private companies, as indeed it is already. So when the government decides it's going to build a new motorway, every penny of the money spent on that motorway goes to private companies. Every single penny.
Okay.
Because the government doesn't employ any civil engineers or builders, so it's given to contractors who build it. When they build a new hospital, every penny goes to private companies. It always has.
Is there any reason when they advertise on the television that they don't say we're going to give 1.5 billion to private transport companies in the region, and they emphasise the word public transport? It just sounds to me as if somebody's playing with words.
Do you think there is such a thing in this country as the National Health Service? Do you think the hospitals in this country are built by, I'm not sure who? Only private companies can do it. If the Houses of Parliament fell down and they rebuilt it, I promise you it wouldn't be the MPs in overalls. They would employ... More's the pity. I like the sound of that. But,
I fully understand what you're saying. It's just... It's an opinion that I have that they're playing, let's say, putting it across in such a manner as to be more acceptable to the public.
Well,
the use of public...
But it is public transport. The only public transport in this country that is not subsidised by taxpayers are taxis and planes. Taxis and planes. All the others are. Not every service, I'll grant you. Not every rail service, not every metro service, not every bus service, but the only service in this country that are not subsidised by the taxpayer, the only public transport services that are not subsidised by the taxpayer are taxis and planes. That's it. Everything else is subsidised. The railways, Virgin get hundreds of millions of pounds a year, as do all the other public service providers. The buses get hundreds of millions of pounds a year nationwide. The ferries get hundreds of millions of pounds a year. All public transport in this country is subsidised, except taxis and planes.
Okay. Well, that was just my point.
It's a good point. It's a good point. It's worth making. The money will go to private enterprise, unless it's in London, where the buses are run by the local authority.
Okay, Alan.
All right, mate.
Thanks
Good
very
on
much.
you. Thank you. 01612282255 is Bob on. If they give £1.5 million to public transport, they'll be giving it to private companies. In the main, Alan in Sale. Hiya, Alan.
Hello, mate.
What have you got?
I want to try and maybe alleviate a painful childhood memory for you first.
For me?
I was very, very distressed with your story of Bella.
Oh, Bella the milkman's horse. Right,
yeah,
go on then.
I just want to check your understanding of the situation. Because we don't always listen to our mum when she's speaking.
We don't.
Are you sure she said shot and not shod, and Bella didn't get a new pair of shoes? Contemplate that for me.
Well, listen, if they get new shoes, they usually come back the week after. She never came back. Bella was never seen again. There were,
off in a field,
yes,
Alan.
she was in her retirement. There were a lot of cats and dogs walking about licking the lips, but she never showed up again. And that's probably why I'm like I am.
It's worth a thought.
Absolutely, it explains everything.
If that's why that's the way you are, then maybe we should look at the other reason for it. There you go. Anyway.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
That's all right. I need to rant at you now.
Okay, let's have it.
Dark mild.
Dark mild.
Do you remember Dark Mild? Chester's Dark Mild.
Ooh, was it called Chester's? Wasn't? Oh no, Chester's come in a bottle, didn't it? A nip-sized bottle, didn't it?
No, you could buy it on draft.
Oh well, there you go. It might be a different Chester's. Go on.
Absolute, a dream in a glass. And my dad gave me a trick. He said, before you go to the pub, son, go and buy some licorice at the local newsagents.
Yeah.
And eat it on the way to the pub. Have it in your mouth as you order your pint. Swill it round with your first sip. Oh, my word. It was absolute ambrosia, Alan.
Really?
And I can't get it.
What, licorice?
No, mild. I can get licorice, but I can't get that.
Well, they sell it in cans now in supermarkets.
It's not the same.
Well,
you want to go to your local.
I will grant you it's not the same.
Listen, they've concentrated too much on giving the youth the new cool drink to stay in business. That's what they've done.
I know. The youths are there to do what they're damn well told. I don't know what we're doing creating things just for them. Give them a slap and tell them, get your miles down, you. What's the matter with you? I don't like it, Dad.
Correct.
Shut your face. Coming in here drinking lager. Do you think you're a bloody girl? Do you want some lime in it? That's how it should be. That's how it should be. That's happy with your porridge. Put hairs on your chest. No wonder the girls won't drink it.
Got me down the fish market every morning, I'll tell you.
Well, do give my regards to Ted Betley.
It's probably the only thing that made me go to the fish market at 4 o'clock in the morning, but there you go.
All right, Alan, good on you, mate.
Before I go, because I just want to give you a story my dad used to tell me when I was younger, and it's linked to guys going in the forces and venting aggression.
Go on.
And he said, I was in the trenches and we weren't doing very well, so I reached in my sack and I got out a bottle of whiskey. I drank the lot in 10 minutes, jumped over the trenches, killed 47 Germans and jumped back in the trench. And the commanding officer said to all the men, pay attention, the moral of Mr. Harrop's action, don't mess with a Lancashire man when he's drunk. And I'll leave you with that.
Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day. 0161 228 2255.
John Thompson, he knows what he means.
Amy Winehouse, little bit pub singer. It's you. Have you noticed? Trevor. Top end pub singer. It's you. Trevor for a keyboard. Exactly.
John Thompson, he knows what he means.
Can you do Brucey for me, Andy? Say, Bruno, what did you think of...
I'll give it a go. Bruno, what did you think of the last performance?
There's still a problem with the feet. Watching it, it was like a pot noodle, but dry with no hot water. I didn't know if it was a pot noodle or Bombay mix.
John Thompson's take on the world.
I love him. He's reinvented cool.
Saturday from 11 on BBC Radio Manchester.
Yeah, very good day to you. Chris, in Wigan, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Mr. Beswick.
Oh, good afternoon.
The England Rugby League side, lamentable displays so far.
Yeah, aren't they the Great Britain side?
No,
they're England this time, are they? Okay, go on.
I'm reading today's Daily Mirror that the coach has said at a press conference, and I quote directly from the Mirror, it's the people who report on the game who get a little disappointed because they make some predictions that probably didn't come to fruition. So they get nasty.
All right.
So he's blaming the press, basically.
Well, he is, yeah.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's the last refuge of a desperate man, I think.
Yeah, I mean...
And I also read that James Roby is saying, once again, you know, we haven't shown our capabilities in any match so far, and we're capable of doing this and capable of doing that. It's just, well, it beggars belief that they can be so self-delusional as to not see the evidence that's put before them, and that is that they are just not good enough. Now, I'm not saying there are any other players back home who haven't been selected who could have done a better job. I honestly think that picking a side from mainly St Helens and Leeds might not have been the wisest thing. I know it's hindsight and all that, but I honestly think that those players are just, they've had enough of rugby for the moment. I think they're either mentally tired or physically tired or maybe even both.
Or maybe they're just not good enough.
Maybe they're just not good enough.
And I think it's the
in
latter.
terms of application, Alan, I think that the so-called lesser countries, especially the Celtic countries, have put us to shame.
Yeah.
And the Papua New Guineans and the Fijians and the Tongans and Samoans, they play with real pride in their shirt.
I don't know the answer. I
always think that, rugby league is basically 80% perspiration and 20% application.
Well, you could be right there. Good on you, Chris.
We're not even willing to put in 10% perspiration.
Perhaps we'll get you doing it. That's the answer.
Yeah, call me up, Al.
And I'll be in the front row. Have a good one, mate. Cheers. Here's news of a great game you can all play at home. I love it. It's from George in Bolton. He says, we invented a brilliant game for the kids. At the time we had two, one named Christopher, one named Andrew. We've still got them, but they're a lot older. And what they do with the credits, because we were talking about the credits earlier, as the credits roll at the end of a programme, they have a competition, and they had to count how many Christophers there were and how many Andrews. You could do that to work out who makes the cocoa, couldn't you? Mind you, there won't be many Allans with two L's. I think I'll probably lose. See you tomorrow. Ta-ra.
There's Carling Cup action tonight. Follow Manchester United.